So the Reformation, guys, was more or less the period of time from which Martin Luther, Martin Luther, from which Martin Luther, guys, started putting forth the idea that the Catholic Church might be wrong, and that, consequently, in order to be right, you'd probably have to break away from the Catholic Church, guys. Even though I'm not exactly sure if this was his original intention, but that's not what you need to know. Okay, so because of the invention of the printing press, guys, by Johannes Gutenberg in 1452 or 1453, guys, Martin Luther's 95 Theses posted somewhere, guys, on October 31st or November 1st, 1517, became a ridiculously big hit with the Germanic states, guys, because the Germanic princes, guys, for one thing, I don't think they're incredibly Catholic, guys, and they did not exactly want the influence of the Catholic Church in their territories, and neither did they want the loss of revenue from the ridiculously large amount of Catholic lands that probably existed in their territories, guys. So politically, guys, a lot of states, unless they benefited from Catholicism, which was usually the states that were not to the north or to the far east of Europe, guys, usually these states would break off against Catholicism and become either Protestant states or etc. Okay? So think of it this way, guys. The further a state is from the Catholic Church in Italy, usually the more likely that it's Protestant. Alright, guys? Okay, so because of Martin Luther's revolutionary 95 Theses, guys, a whole lot of smaller movements came up that were of significance either way, such as, for example, the Anabaptists, which believed that adult baptism should be taken, the Calvinists, which believed in the doctrine of predestination. Since God knows everything, he must know that you're going to heaven or hell, and therefore he will give you a sort of grace, guys, if you're going to heaven, in order to give you a thumbs up, or a heads up, actually. Okay, so while this was happening, guys, you have the Counter-Reformation by the Catholic Church, guys. So what the Counter-Reformation was an attempt by the Catholic Church to reform itself to some small degree in order to regain the old believers, guys, from the new Protestant faiths that are now springing up all over, most of Europe. Alright, guys? Okay, so significant people during this time, guys, are John Wycliffe and Jan Hus. John Wycliffe, guys, was an English guy who, before Luther, believed in the doctrine of salvation by faith. And John Hus, I can't pronounce his name, was a Bohemian or a Czech, guys, who, believing in Wycliffe's teaching, or influenced by Wycliffe's teachings, guys, led revolts or etc. against the Catholic Church and eventually was burned as a heretic sometime later, guys. Okay, other significant people were Martin Luther, naturally, guys. John Calvin, who, in his Institutes of the Christian Religion, made his ideas regarding predestination and the Calvinist faith, guys. Zurich Zwingli, no, yes, was it Zurich Zwingli? I don't know, let's find out. Isn't this exciting, guys? Look, it's Ulrich Zwingli. I was wrong, but he went to Zurich. How convenient, guys. Okay, so, besides these people, guys, and actually, guys, Henry VIII, who, although originally he defended the Catholic Church, later made the Anglican Church in order to annul his marriage and get a son. Significant factions during this time, guys, was the Protestant princes of the Germanic nations and Switzerland and etc., guys, North and East Europe, guys, that, although they were not really united at this point in time, I do not believe, they still existed as entities separate from the doctrines or the accepted practices of the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire. And the French Huguenots, guys, which were basically Calvinists in France. So that sums up, guys, mostly everything except for the details of the Reformation.